Hi folks, I'm fooling with stuff here because, well, I'm not happy. It's a piece of crap. Oh, tripod. No wonder the Martians couldn't capture the planet Earth because they must have bought their tripod off Amazon. But that's a different matter. We've received 3 games in 3 days, which is remarkable because today is the first time in 3 days that I've not done what? Because we had our last big remaining cedar tree fall in our backyard, slightly crushing our fence and wanting to go through our bathroom window like the Christmas tree did to the windows
in Christmas Story.
In Christmas Story, Chevy Chase. Well, we didn't have that because I cut enough weight off and got it to shift where I wanted it to, but... So, what game do we have, Miss Katie?
We have Battle of North Kursk.
Had you ever heard the word Kursk before you met the wonderful, beguiling, just so debonair man who would sweep you off your feet?
Did you say debonair?
Okay, the boner. But you've known that my whole life, since you've known me, that the Russian front has always been my favorite thing, other than perhaps the wars.
It is your second love besides me.
Yes. And okay, maybe the third. It ranks behind our dogs and our cats. But yes, it is my favorite area of World War II. So this, and if you note the front of the box, what does it have on the front of the box? Down at the bottom.
It has a black kitty.
And our little new black kitty is doing quite well. Squirt, Miss Katie makes an egg for Squirt every morning. So, but we're kind of excited to play this game. It like we said, it came to us because we bought it. We bought this game. So, and Elizabeth at GMT got it to us pretty quickly. So, we'll talk about it here in a minute, folks. And...
Bye-bye.
Bye-byes. Good evening, folks. It is January the 11th, one day before the Vistula offensive in 1945. And God, I got all sweaty on that. I got so excited. When we go to lunch tomorrow, I will regale our gal at Longhorn with that, and she'll just look at me like... Wow.
You have lobsters crawling out of your ears.
I've got lobsters crawling out of my forehead like Ralphie and Christmas Story. But, Miss Katie talked to you, Battle of North Kursk. Well, that kind of sounds weird. Really, Battle of North Kursk. But it is the northern Kursk salient. So, map. Well, first, it's a new GMT game, sort of. It's one GMT is selling. I think of it really kind of as a hybrid game here because it has 3 different scenarios. You've got Kursk, which lasts 2 turns. You have the Kutozov offensive, which is turns 3 through 8, and then you've got the Battle of Kursk, turns 1 through 8. So, only 8 turns. Seems like it should go quick, but it says anywhere from 90 minutes to 180 minutes. Okay, I can't imagine 90 minutes for 2 turns, but okay. The designer says that this was a counterattack by the Soviets. Do not pass go. That's not really quite correct because it was one of 8 planned or anticipated operations, and this was a deliberate operation by the Soviets in 1943. At the time of Kursk. So, historically, I've been kind of cool to area games, have grown used to them. I helped develop the Fallujah game for Paper Wars. And I liked the old Rand game on Cambrai, and we played that with, oh, hecky darn, who came to visit us in Colorado?
I don't know.
With his son. Dang, and he did Israeli independence, and I'm drawing a blank. So, and our good buddy Kurt, who I could have Miss Katie text right now, he's probably in bed because he's back east. So,
Yeah.
We said, okay, we're fine with this. Now, the gray, well, duh, is German. I mean, come on, right? It's always German. The other areas are Soviet, and you see the salient here. Key areas: Matensk, Orel, Kromy, Kursk. For the Soviets to win, they have to take two of these three places. The Germans take Kursk, they win. Good luck probably with that one. These areas are for scenario 1, the two-turn scenario of Kursk, and the Germans have to take 3 out of those 5 areas to win. Okay, they might be able to take those 3. I think that's going to be a stretch. But you'll notice that the areas are labeled by alphabetic and number. Number is terrain defensive value. This is the defensive value of any given area. Again, that's kind of easy, but surprisingly, this is not as an illustration in the book. And that's really hard to imagine. Why don't you have that as an illustration in the book? That's a normal thing. Well, it's back there on page 2, sort of, but it doesn't jump out at you. And I don't understand what that is. There are no player aid cards, which is weird. We've got baggies, tactical cards, 2 dice. Now, the markers. I always fuss about markers, don't I? Well, counters. I always fuss about counters that they're often hard to come out. Okay. Well, this one, look how easy these come out. Okay, now, the counter sheet that's given us trouble, in fact, I'll show you. They've already come out. I have them, but they've come out already, so can't fuss about that. Cannot fuss that the counters have already come out. There are also fired markers and control markers, and let's see if I can find those again here. Okay, you have, I'll show you here kind of close. Miss Katie will tell me if I'm getting in close. You've got control markers for Germans, control markers for Soviets, and minefields. Minefield markers which add 2 extra to the defensive value of an area. Counters are easy to read, good font. Can't fuss about that. Can't fuss at all about that. Also, yellow areas are also key areas. I should have mentioned that. Black, of course, again, denotes a German area. Now, the game engine is probably the tactical cards here. These are the game engine, the tactical cards. There are 20 for each player. Maybe they could have been on just a little firmer card stock, but pretty close. They're pretty close. The 2 most critical ones for players are powerful braking. Oh God, who came up with the English for that? I understand what it is. And for the Soviet combined arms. The problem with these cards is I'm doing this with my birth control glasses, and with my regular glasses, I'd be doing this. And I will bring those in kind of close, and you can see that the font is weeny. I mean, Miss Katie's like squinting, the sort of squint where you're gonna pop a blood vessel. So a bit squinty there. The cards will give you, like so many, things will give you maybe directions that will supersede the rules. Okay, they tell you what you can do that turn, or give you additional, like here, Katusha. Play on own action, fire with 8 firepower at any friendly controlled area or its adjacent area. Okay. So you decide you're going to use your Katusha card down here because you want to punch towards a rel, or perhaps here. You use that and you can attack the adjacent areas. Now what you can't do, you can either attack a turn or you can move on a turn with whatever cards you play. Unless you use the variable, and what do they call it? Armor variant rule, where you can move and fire. All your units from an area can move and fire, except one of the units in that area can only either move or fire. Is that because it's staying basic control? Is it a C2 unit? Is it to protect your logistical infrastructure? Don't know. But each turn with cards, you activate an area. A card doesn't activate an area. It allows you to do things, but doesn't per se activate an area. You can have up to 10 units in an area. Have more than that, you could end up in trouble with your retreats. You gotta be thinking about what units you have here. Combat is very simple. Combat is the number of units that are in an area, and you roll the 2 dice. Most units here, most Soviet units are 1 unless they're guards, and then they're 2s. Most German units are 1s, number of 2s, and then of course you have the Ferdinands, who are 3, and the Tigers, which are 5s. So you've got, it's going to be close, and I would agree that their valuations are pretty good. But the combat is simply, again, however many units you have, roll the 2 dice, total that up. That's the offensive. Defensive is whatever your defensive value is for the units you have in an area, plus the tactical value, the tactical defensive value of an area. That's pretty darn simple. 3 possible type of results. If you're 1 better after all the rolls, retreat. Second is if it's a difference of 2, you can either make a unit be spent, because this is interesting. The counters this is not step loss. They're either spent after a turn, they're either spent because of an action, or they're destroyed. And if it's 3 or more, then they're destroyed. It'll be a little funny, I think, to play the first several turns, because it's going to take a little while for that to sink in, because it's different. The rule book has good setup. Help if I'd hold that up, wouldn't it? Rule book is a good overall setup. The rules, oh my God, they're horrible. They're a mishmash of. It's like when I've had some foreign students in some of my classes, and their sentence structure or construction is just very awkward, and some big person or an adult needed to proof these rules, because the game deserved more love than the rules have in this. And it also does that stupid construct of his, hers, she, he. That's not proper English. That is not proper writing. So they need perhaps to put out another rule book, or put on Board Game Geek what I would call a set of living rules for better English. But it's great to see this. I'm excited. I have to laugh at this German Death Unit box. Yeah, Miss Katie's crooked her head this way. Not German Destroyed Unit box. And you kind of do this. You get close to it and you go, Death Unit box. And we just got done watching the Star Wars trilogy, and so you're thinking Death Star, right? Yeah, Miss Katie's shaking her head over there. It's like, okay, I don't get this. This is sort of a goofy picture here because this is from 1941 POWs. Okay, I don't know what they could have used instead, but not a great look there. Here, the turn track shows you the scenarios. Scenario 1, the Kursk one, and the others. Goes through 4 August, which is pretty close for this. Shows you the card play that's in action at this time. Again, good, because we're down to 4 by the end. Little historical background on this. Model had actually pulled some of his units from the attack and kind of kept them back because he had some intel that the Soviets were maybe going to do something in the area. It seemed it was signal intercepts, but Model was on top of this so that when Sicily happened, things happened in Italy, and the Soviets then launched Operation Kutozov on the 12th up in here. And of course, gone for a rel, Model was kind of ready to react. Well, the problem is, I think it was the 9th Panzer Army at this point had just had its commander relieved because Gestapo had got a hold of letters the 9th Army commander, Panzer Commander Army, had written back to his brother in Germany, making not very lovely comments about the Fuhrer. And he got relieved. That's the 3rd time during the war. At this point, somebody got relieved for either opening his pie hole or having his plane land at the wrong place with operation orders. The real losses in this were 100,000 German to 429,000 approximately Russian. Okay, we always talk about books. I show you this one all the time. It's because if you don't own this book, you're foolish. It is maybe the best single volume, easy to read on this part of the war. And I've got to read your little thing here. I may have read this one before, but I like it so much. All those post-war claims by the German generals that they could have triumphed in the East if only Hitler had them allowed them to maneuver need to take Orwell into account. Here, Hitler allowed a retreat to shorten lines, doing just what the historians always accuse him of failing to do. Okay, I'm not one of those historians because I'd have been telling him to shorten his lines. The result, over 100,000 German casualties. Apparently, maneuver had its own problems as well. It's always easy to do it from a desk if you never actually got dirty and done it in the field. And of course, our favorite, which the Oxford people sent to me because of work I'd done for them, Volume 8, The Eastern Front, 1943-1944, great analysis in this period. You can tell that the Germans are, politically they're writing correctly, but you can tell that they're not thrilled with the way the war is going in the operation. So, I have to thank anybody for this game, except for me, because I bought it for myself. Post-Christmas. As always, folks, we thank you. You have a blessed evening. Miss Katie's going to get ready to turn the video off directly. Her fingers should be going up that way. So, thanks, folks. Bye.